Opening night's here, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Another round of applause.
Football.
Another round of applause. Woo! Welcome in, everybody. This is the Southside Beat.
Great day.
I'm Corey Crisan. He's Chris Halicke. Today is Thursday, September 7, 2023. Better affectionately known as opening night in the National Football League. We made it, folks.
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. I know the Steelers don't play today, but it is a beautiful day. I said it in our Steelers feed on DK Pittsburgh Sports.com today. It's one of my favorite days of the year. The weather, I know it doesn't feel like it right now. I think Pittsburgh weather today better, I think. But I think overall it's just a day like this, even if the weather is not actually cooling off just yet, it signals a cooling off. Signals, yes, summer's over. Summer's a great time, but fall brings a lot of excitement. If you're also a hockey fan, hockey's right around the corner too. October, you have Halloween, then eventually Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's just, today is like the beginning of that. It's like the beginning of just one event after another of just it's just the best time of the year. I love it. I love it so much.
And hopefully some of that cooler weather can eradicate the lantern flies that are just running amok.
Lantern flies.
It's disgusting out here today with the flies.
I forgot about those things.
And today it rained this morning pretty hard when I got here. So it's been kind of a damp day, a muggy day, kind of a gross day. But the Steelers did practice outside. I am inside of the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex, the indoor practice facility, warehouse, what have you. The lights are off, the lighting's poor, the auto quality stinks, but the show goes on 3 p.m. Eastern time every Monday through Friday right here on DK Pittsburgh Sports on YouTube. We precede the Ramon Foster show, 4 p.m. Ramon and DK, Monday through Friday, talking Steeler football. And listen, today what we're going to do is dive into an outlook for the Steelers in 2023. You see the title, Forecasting the Steelers Season. Where did the Steelers fit into the AFC? Where do they fit in the AFC North? How likely is it that they make the playoffs? How did they improve from last season? A lot of layers to unpack, Chris, because just looking at the AFC in a general scope.
It's so loaded, man. Oh, my gosh.
It's loaded. It's deep. And you and I were talking pre-show. 10 wins might not get you into the postseason.
No,
in fact, it probably won't get you into the postseason. 11 wins might be the cutoff to get into the postseason in this really deep AFC.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen my predictions in the Steelers feed yet on DKPittsburghSports.com, and you don't have to be a member, and I urge you to subscribe, but you don't have to be a member to see them. By all means, go there, click on our Steelers feed. Both Corey and mine, our predictions are in there. Whenever I did my predictions, I did a full-blown guessed every single game in the NFL and let the records speak for themselves. I didn't sit here and go, oh yeah, I think the Bengals are going to win 12 games, or I'm just going to pull those numbers out. I mean, literally thought like, okay, well, maybe this, there's an upset here, an upset there. Okay, there's no way the Bills are losing this game, whatever it is. And going through 9 teams in the AFC won 10 games. 9 teams. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I did say, and I think I will guarantee this, that there will be at least one 10-win team in the AFC that does not make the playoffs. It's just this conference is too loaded. There are too many good quarterbacks. There are too many good rosters. The Bengals, if they're in the NFC, are probably a 2 seed, maybe even a 1 seed. Not saying that they're better than the 49ers, but they could be better than the 49ers. They could be better than the Eagles. They might not even be the 1 or 2 seed in the AFC because the Chiefs and the Bills are so good. The Jaguars are good enough to be way better than they are if they're a 4 seed. You just go through the AFC. It's just like, man, like maybe the weakest conference is the AFC South, but it's like, other than that, like the other 3 divisions are just, and then in the same prediction, all 4 AFC North teams finishing above 500. It's a loaded conference,
which is not just more within the realm of possibility, that being the AFC North. There is legitimate discourse about the AFC North. You could word any of the 4 teams in the first position, any of the 4 teams in the second position, any of the 4 teams in the third position, and any of the 4 teams in the fourth position. You can make a legitimate case that any of these 4 teams Cincinnati being the least likely to finish below second, obviously.
Yeah.
But there is some discussion to be had about the AFC North and how deep and how strong it is, and how the Steelers, just looking at them, can finish anywhere from first to fourth. And that's just the reality of the situation. Not because, someone doesn't believe in them or anything. It's because the facts of the matter is, what if this is the year the Browns finally figure it out and turn it around, and Deshaun Watson can, be anything close to the 2020 version? What if this is the year that Joe Burrow and co really keep it going? What if this is the year the Ravens keep it going? What if this is the year that Kenny Pickett is the breakout player of the year and has that year 2 leap that we all think he does, and the Steelers win 13 or 14 games? There are legitimate reasons to look at all 4 of these teams, the AFC North, no matter how badly someone might not want to hear about it, and say, these guys could finish anywhere in that division. It is such a wide-ranging pecking order, I think, and it's a very, very, very deep division.
Yeah, and so here's the thing when it comes to the rest of the AFC, because yes, the North it's already going to be difficult to compete just in the division. Obviously, the Bengals are really, really good, but then the Ravens pose a threat. I understand that, yes, they have some question marks for sure. The Browns have some question marks. Are they going to be able to stop the run this year? If they don't, good luck. If Deshaun Watson if the best we've ever seen Deshaun Watson be is in the past, it's going to be tough. You have to be able to have productivity and consistency from your quarterback in order to compete in the AFC. You just have to. But then you look through the rest of the conference. It's like the Chargers are really good. They might not get in if they only win 10 games. The Broncos are going to be a team to bounce back with under Sean Payton now. The Jets, I had somebody clap back at me because I had the Jets in the playoffs. It's like, listen, the Jets have a really good roster, a really good roster. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to be the Aaron Rodgers in his prime in order to get that team to the playoffs. He has to be maybe 70% of what he was in his prime. Just be good enough. Let Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook do the work on the ground. He has plenty of targets to throw to. Their defense is good. Like, it's a legitimate roster. I'm not saying they're going to compete with the Bills and take over the AFC East, and win that division, but they're definitely good enough to make the playoffs. And it would be a slam dunk if they're in the NFC, but it's just because it's the AFC that if you lose the wrong game here or the wrong game there, and actually there were 2 games that I wanted to bring up on the Steelers schedule, and one of them is this Sunday, because I have, spoiler alert, I have the Steelers winning on Sunday, but I also have them losing to the Jaguars at home later. And it's just, what if those 2 games are reversed? Obviously beating the Jaguars is a lot better. If you were to pick, you can only win one of those 2 games, you want to beat the Jaguars because that helps with their conference record. And so, but if you win against the 49ers and lose against the Jaguars, but then you lose another critical game down the road in the conference, then all of a sudden, I think I had, like, with what I predicted, the Steelers record was going to be 7-5 in the conference. The difference between 7-5 and 6-6 could be all the difference in terms of making the playoffs or not.
Before we get to Swan's point about Larry Ogunjobi and his potential prospects for this weekend, I put the Steelers at 10-7, and I fully will acknowledge that is lowballing. That is lowballing what they could be this year, which is more realistically, more likely, an 11 to 12 win team. And the reason why I put those lowball projections in is because of how deep the AFC is and how much, really, every week that the Steelers play in the AFC is no gimme. There are very few of them. There are very few of them.
Texans, Raiders, those are kind of
those are your gimmies. But even then, the Raiders, in almost every year, the Steelers seem to go on the road and lose a game they should.
They're
win.
not playing in Oakland, though. They're not playing at the Coliseum.
Sure.
If they're playing at the Coliseum, I'd say, okay, yeah, they lose that game. Just because I don't like going off of intangibles and stuff like that, but that was just one place they could never win. But they're not playing there anymore. This is a brand new stadium. It's a brand new city. I don't know. Maybe
air conditioned.
Might as well be a whole new team. I don't know. But they're definitely not. They're definitely not. I don't know, man. I have a hard time seeing them lose to the Raiders. Happy to see Corey's headphones are back.
I know. I brought back the real cans this time. I don't have the earbuds in. Let's go to Swan's question, which is a really good one. Who takes Larry Ogunjobi's snaps if he's limited with this foot injury? So Larry Ogunjobi was limited in Wednesday's practice. This is from the official team practice report. Cam Hayward was limited, but that was vet rest. He'll, obviously be good to go. But Larry Ogunjobi has had this foot issue really for a long time, and even through training camp. And, at this stage, we know that he was limited on Wednesday. A Thursday injury report has yet to come out. And today, Coordinator Thursday, when Terrell Austin and Matt Canada speak throughout the week, Terrell Austin talked about, who could take those snaps for Larry Ogunjobi. And as of right now, it sounds like it's Marvin Leal.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. I mean, honestly, you could have said just about anybody, and it would have made sense to me. You could have said DeMarvin Leal. You could have said Keanu Benton. You could have said Isaiah Loudermilk. You could have said any of those guys, and it would have made sense. But DeMarvin Leal, I think the one thing that he kind of shows above everybody, even though I think Keanu Benton can eventually take this over, but it's his versatility. It's his ability to play like a 3 technique, or his ability to line up on the edge. And obviously I think he's better in that 3 technique position, but yes, I think Keanu Benton could eventually get to that point where he then surpasses Leal, but Leal really flashed a lot of good stuff last year. I really, really liked what I saw from him. It was obviously inconsistent. Didn't get a lot of consistent playing time in one spot, and I'd like to see more of that when opportunities arise. Obviously, you'd like to see Cam Hayward and Larry O playing the vast majority of the snaps, but it's an NFL season. That's just not going to happen. I just want to see him take advantage of snaps a little bit more often and really, really, show a little bit more consistently. And obviously he was a rookie last year. There's always a learning curve. He also had a knee injury last year that he had to work around. So he's coming in, he's healthy. And I really liked what I saw from him last year. Really athletic, but also really strong too.
It will help that DeMarvin Leal gets to play in one position this year.
Yes.
Last year he did too much going back from nose tackle to right end to left end to outside linebacker. He played just about every position he could have asked to be played in his rookie season. This year he gets to solidify as a defensive end. He doesn't have to do all of the work as a nose tackle, which brings me to a point here from Bob. Do you think Larry's foot is what kept Braden Fehoko on the practice squad? I don't think it's entirely that, but I think there is some credence to take from having a defensive end that's injured just in case that whole thing needs to come up. You could put Keanu Benton at defensive end, and you could keep Braden Fehoko at defensive tackle, at nose tackle. So that's definitely an option, just to have as a Braden Fehoko. We've talked about Fehoko as, his status on the practice squad. So to run stuffer, someone that you can call up in games against the Browns, the Bengals, and the Ravens if you need them, to stop the run. That's what he's known to do. So there's a really good benefit to having Braden Fehoko on the practice squad. Now, if Larry Ogunjobi can't go on Sunday, then I'd be interested to see who gets elevated and then who starts taking those snaps at end for Larry O. But my money would be on DeMarvin Leal to do that.
I just want to say for anybody, if Corey is breaking up for you at all, it's the internet on the South Side is not the greatest. I can say that from experience. It's not the greatest. And so if Corey cuts out at all, don't worry, we'll handle it.
The locker room was still open when I got on air. So we cut practice late today. We cut practice close today. But hey, the show still goes on 3 p.m. I find my way to get in front of this camera at 3 o'clock and this microphone, whether it's the official setup from home or not. A good question here from Juan. Is Ben capable of playing as a defensive tackle when the Steelers are in nickel and dime packages? So it depends on, I guess, the opponent. That's the best answer I could give through it, because I would say that having Keanu Benton's speed and his pass rush ability in those nickel and dime sets would be more of a benefit than playing, with that run stopping, mindset like a Braden Fehoko does. What's your take on that?
I mean, I've always thought, I think the one thing that, when I saw Benton play at the Senior Bowl, the one thing I really, really thought was versatility. Honestly, I could really see him lining up in the 0, see him lining up anywhere between a 0 and a 3. He's just, everybody wanted to kind of put him as he's a nose tackle, but no, this dude can absolutely do multiple things. I really like the idea of Benton. And I think honestly, they took Benton with the idea that he could do more than just be this guy in the middle. he absolutely can line up and take reps at like a defensive tackle position at like a, between a 2 and a 3 technique, like just what, in that spot, just because he could line up right over a guard. He could even line up between a guard and a tackle and still be athletic enough. He's still good enough with his hands and he's quick enough off the line. I think that's another thing. He's quick enough off the line to do that. I really think Benton is really, really, really versatile. And I think that was one thing, maybe not as versatile coming out of the draft as like maybe Brian Brzee, but I still thought Keanu Benton was a really, really versatile guy that they could get. And it wasn't just like this guy that's going to be a nose tackle going forward. Not Casey Hampton.
No. Bob, appreciate your. Please leave a like on this episode. Please share this episode.
Yes.
We greatly appreciate that. It goes a very long way.
And we see all the love that you guys show in the comments, man. We appreciate it so much. You guys are awesome. Like, for real.
I love this one for Blood. I somehow make more sense in low resolution. Listen, when I'm freshly off the practice field, when I'm freshly out of the locker room, that's when, the brain gets going. That's when, the mind starts flowing. So I appreciate that. Question from Smitty. Might Fehoko be promoted this week? The only instance I can see that happening is if Larry Ogunjobi can't play. That's the only instance I could potentially see that happening.
Yeah. Even then, I don't think it's a guarantee. I mean, not saying that he can't. But again, you have essentially 3 guys who can step in if Larry O is ruled out, so that can play at that spot. DeMarvin Leal can play there. Loudermilk can play there. And as we talked about, Keanu Benton is versatile enough to play there as well. So I don't think it's like you have to have another body there. I mean, you can, and it definitely wouldn't hurt. But against a defense like the 49ers, I wouldn't stress as much about interior linemen as I would about possibly maybe some stuff on the edge or in the middle of the defense, or even in the secondary, just because you have so much ground to cover against an offense like that.
I want to shift to our next topic because, Chris, today was the first Coordinator Thursday, as it goes, here on the South Side, where Matt Canada and Terrell Austin took to the podium.
Always a great day.
Talked about their units. And the thing that I took away from, let's start with the offense and Matt Canada. And the thing that I took away as the most imperative from Matt Canada was that, yes, you couldn't have put together a better preseason for the offense. When Kenny Pickett leads 5 touchdown drives and 5 chances, and he's spreading the ball around, which, by the way, coming up later to DKPittsburghSports.com about spreading the football around. And now they get to turn around and face the number 1 defense from last year in the NFL. So, obviously, the key against the San Francisco 49ers, from the offensive standpoint, is finding ways to break through that number 1 defense. But the way that Matt Canada, I think, is approaching this season, it feels almost a little more refreshing to hear that from when we left off with Canada at the end of last year. And what I mean by that is, I think he's seeing and feeling the growth from Kenny, and he's seeing and feeling the growth from the offensive line. And a massive credit goes back to Omar Khan for, you add Isaac Seumalo, you add Broderick Jones, you bring some competition, some heat to that room, and then you go get a Darnell Washington to help. I think it's fascinating that Matt Canada feels almost more rejuvenated going into this year. Chris, what would your take away from anything he had to say, and what's your overall thoughts on the Steelers' outlook? And we'll talk more about this in depth tomorrow, going against the 49ers.
Obviously, the way that they match up against the 49ers, they're going to have to find ways to get the ball out quick. And that's not going to be easy to do because obviously, Bosa is going to be there. We know that now. He signed the record contract yesterday. Even if he's playing on a pitch count, I mean, he's still going to be there. And the plays that he's on the field, they have to account for him. Plus Javon Hargrave is there. I mean, they have the ability to get to the quarterback. Yep. So you have to get the ball out quick, or you have to be able to make plays on the run and on the move. And that's the one thing that I think Kenny can be really good at and maybe extend some plays. But the second and third levels of the 49ers defense is no joke. But I think the one thing that they're going to have to try to find a way to do is find ways to create, and this is where I think Matt Canada's playbook is really going to get challenged, is find ways to create space for guys on quick throws. whether that's drags, whether that's slants, whether that's hitches whenever the cornerbacks are playing off the line, whatever it is, get the ball out quick, move the ball down the field, give yourself 2nd and 4, give yourself 3rd and 3 instead of 3rd and 8, give yourself more manageable downs. Even if you have to nickel and dime your way down the field, it's better than having to try to heave the ball downfield and have to wait for that time when a guy like Hargrave or Bosa is going to be running at Kenny. That being said, also find ways to get Kenny on the move. Make that 49ers defense move. Make them try to track guys like Deontay, like Pickens, like Freiermuth in the middle of the field. Can't do that all the time because you're running a huge risk of getting your quarterback injured, but maybe sprinkle that in quite a bit. Obviously try to establish the run because then that opens up play action, which that opens up the entire playbook as well, because the defense then has to respect the play action. But I would say maybe the X factor there, if I have to put that kind of a term on it, is make sure you can make the big plays when you can by getting Kenny on the move, because you can't do it all the time. So take advantage of it whenever you do.
This might be comment of the week. Matt Canada is safe this week because everybody is hating on Andy Haynes and Derek Belton. Chris and I are not held responsible for what the baseball franchise does. However, I can understand and I can sympathize and empathize with what you're feeling about the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And also, I think there's a little bit of recency bias in there too, because the Pirates are about to have another losing season, and yet the Steelers are, well, first off, it's been however long since the Steelers have played an actual football game that actually went in the win-loss column, and they're also had a really good preseason. So there's a little bit of recency bias there. If the Steelers go out there and score 3 points and look like absolute crap doing it, I think the pitchforks are going to be right back for Matt Canada, regardless of who they're playing.
And again, the 49ers defense, not easy to break through. So
no,
this is
it's
really
not
the toughest test the Steelers could have going into the
all
season.
Like for real, like all season.
I love this for Panzer Trick Pete. Last season, Kenny started out with limited snaps, had to turn to the pace of the NFL. So Canada's playbook was reflective of that. This year with decent reps, full off season, we'll see more pages. I'm with you on that, and I'm also with you from the standpoint of how Kenny's going to have freedom in the line of scrimmage this year, and it's not going to be training wheel situation, to start with. I think there's a lot more confidence in Kenny, just him being named the starting quarterback. He was named a captain for a reason, elected a captain, I should say, for a reason. And Matt Canada's going to let Kenny Pickett dictate this offense. He's going to obviously call the offense, Canada is, but he's going to let Kenny Pickett make some changes and make some calls and make some hot reads. And again, the freedom to, distribute the ball around. I'm just very curious to see how that all transpires week 1 against this kind of a team. Damon Brown asks, guys think Bosa will require double team even if we think he's out of shape? Yes. I don't think Nick Bosa's out of shape to begin with. He wasn't training with the team, but that doesn't mean he was, not training at all. I will say this. He's going to line up against Dan Moore more often than not. This also brings in Darnell Washington into the equation. This is a massive assignment for Darnell Washington, as much as it is Dan Moore. Washington helping with those double teams, taking some of the pressure off of Isaac Seumalo, and really maybe not necessarily following Bosa around per se. I'm talking about Washington. Yeah. But, and Brown and Damon, you talk about game shape. Yes, game shape is another thing. He didn't play in the preseason. That's a whole nother beast, and I understand that. But his talent level is just so out of this world good. Top 2 or 3 defender in the NFL. He won the Defensive Player of the Year for a season. So, how effective is Nick Bosa going to be? Obviously, we don't know, but there's standing reason to believe he's going to be pretty darn good just based on talent. Yeah,
you have to assume that when Nick Bosa's in a stadium that he's going to be Nick Bosa. Now, remember, we saw this with TJ a couple of years ago when now I understand he wasn't a holdout. He was with the team, but he was a hold in. He did some things, but he didn't do like a lot of team related stuff. And there were a lot of questions on how TJ was going to look at the beginning of the season because that contract didn't get done until the 11th hour. And so there were questions on like how effective is TJ going to be in those first few games. And then that very first game, he made Josh Allen I can't say the word on here. I don't think it's an expletive. I can't say it. He made Josh Allen. I'll leave it there. He made Josh Allen look really, really bad.
Sure.
And that's like, because it's TJ Watt, like that's who he is. And you would expect Nick Bosa to show up on Sunday and be a game wrecker, to be a game changer. Like that's just the Steelers would be fools to not to think, oh, well, maybe he won't be as effective. Maybe we don't have to double team him as often. Maybe we don't have to. No, you have to account for that. And if he doesn't, if he gets on the field and he looks gassed after 2 snaps, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, maybe he's like 90% of regular Nick Bosa. Great.
Yeah.
Use that to your advantage, but don't go into the game thinking like, oh, wow, yeah, Nick Bosa is going to be, he's going to be less than what he normally is. No, they need to account for him being Nick Bosa.
A few quick hits before we get out of here on Thursday. Robert asked, Corey, have you ever announced a game? Yes, I have. One of my previous jobs was play-by-play announcer. I've called minor league baseball. I used to be the play-by-play voice of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, a single A team in the New York Penn League. Now it's in the MLB Draft League. So, yes, I have play-by-play background. No, I will not do my best play-by-play voice right now. I'm doing my best play-by-play voice right now. Quick scouting report on the 49ers interior offensive line. You know, this is where Chris and I kind of disagree, because Trent Williams, all amazing left tackle, all-star left tackle. There's some discrepancy between what the interior offensive line brings for the 49ers. Is it average? Is it good? Is it below average? Is it not good? There's some discrepancy there. I think it's fine, but that's where the Steelers are going to have a lot more success, going away from Trent Williams, on going to TJ Watt's side, going to Cam Hayward's side. I think Cam Hayward could have a big day on Sunday.
Combined starting experience of the interior offensive line of the 49ers is 1 year. So there's that. I mean, yes, Trent Williams is great on the left at left tackle. Colton McKivitz is unproven at right tackle, and then the interior of the line, the 2 guards in the center, combined 1 year starting experience. So again, not saying that they're bad, but there's just some questions there, you know, and try to use that to your advantage. That's what I would say about the Niners, especially the interior of the line.
Damon believes, he seriously believes, Calvin Austin will run one back in this game. Calvin Austin will run punts back, and if he finds a hole, you never know. I mean, with punt returns and kick returns, you can't really predict them, but I think there's a chance that Calvin Austin could break at least one this season. Yes, no. I think Kenny getting freedom at the line of scrimmage is going to be huge for him this year, and you know, we'll obviously how much that is going to develop down the line. I think it's going to be a great game as well. Jerry comments, I think it's going to be a great game. I also think it's going to be a great game. I think it's a close game. Monongahela Mike asks who wins the opener tonight. I'll take the Chiefs, even if Travis Kelce does not play.
Okay, are you taking the Chiefs minus 6.5?
Yeah, I'll take the points. I'm cool with that.
Okay, I just because that like when we make our predictions on the show, we are going to have to do it by the line. That's just going to be the rule here. We have to do it by the line. I am also taking the Chiefs minus 6.5. By the way.
Yes, I would like the Chiefs with the points tonight. Randy, we appreciate you. He says, Corey, Chris, you guys are continually hitting out of the park. Awesome. You guys are awesome. You guys and gals are awesome for commenting, for joining, for subscribing, for sharing, for liking, all of that. You all are making this show what it is, and we're having a blast doing it Monday through Friday, 3 to 3:30 Eastern, just before the Ramon Foster show here on DK Pittsburgh Sports. Chris, before we get out of here on a Thursday, do you have any final thought?
J-Dub, thanks for the love, man. So I mean, NFL's back, man. Like I'm so excited to watch the game tonight. To really get a glimpse of I am picking the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl again. That seems like the cop-out answer, but until there is a absolute massive void on their roster that is just a glaring weakness, I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes until he proves otherwise. I just can't. Pat Mahomes is a generational player. He's going to go down as one of the all-time great quarterbacks to play this game. We are in the middle of the Chiefs dynasty. They are a good enough team to join those very few teams that have won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. They absolutely can. I'm just excited for football to be back. That's my take today. Football's back. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to dive way more into the actual Steelers game on Sunday. We'll talk way more about the Steelers, about the 49ers, but definitely wanted to get you guys excited for the season today because the season does begin today. When we meet tomorrow, there will be an NFL game played already. And so it's exciting. It's an exciting time of the year, man. How about you?
I also should be under better Wi-Fi, audio, video, all of that quality tomorrow as well. So we will be back into normal broadcast land tomorrow and not MacGyver setup on the sideline over here. We will be talking real football tomorrow. Game preview coming up on Friday. But for now, on Thursday, he's Chris Halicke. I'm Corey Crisan. DK and Ramon in 30 minutes. This has been the Southside Beat, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.